You might be wondering who I am and what story I've come to share with you today. I'm not someone famous or important. My husband was. Chuck Parsonson was very important to a lot of people here in this group. I stand before you to honor him and most affectionately the loving man taken from us too soon. Chuck lived a life marked by service, curiosity, and devotion. His journey began as a military brat, traveled the world with his father, Ernest Charles Parsonson, who was the World War II pilot. His childhood took him to Japan, Virginia, Massachusetts, Colorado, Germany, Illinois, and Maryland. That early exposure to history and aviation planted seeds that would blossom later in life. He proudly served in Vietnam as a member of the U.S. Army, carrying the values of honor and integrity throughout his life. After his service, Chuck built a successful career as a physician recruiter, retiring from Bay Health, where was known for his professionalism and genuine care for others. It was about this time when I came into the picture. He wanted to find the woman of his dreams. He couldn't find her, but he took me. If you're wondering how we met the old-fashioned way on the internet. Here's a couple of funny little stories that Chuck and I shared. So soon after we met, I had to have a hysterectomy, and there was complications. And the doctor says, you cannot do stairs. And my bedroom was upstairs at my house. So he says, well, come on over to my house. My daughter won't mind giving up her room. She was on the bottom floor. I'm thinking, yeah, 16-year-old probably really wanted to give up her bed. But so I did for a while. And finally I said, I really want to go home. I want to sleep in my own bed. So I laid down and took a nap. Next thing I know, I hear this noise. And it's my furniture, bedroom furniture, going upstairs. And I said, what the heck are you doing? Are you moving me in? He goes, well, yeah, that's my plan. So that's how I ended up living there. That was his, way of telling me to move in. Let's see. Months later, I said to him, have you ever been on a cruise? Because we both had been married before, we tried to find experiences that we hadn't experienced with any of the other spouses. And he said, no. He said, let's go. So we booked an inside cabin. If you haven't gone on cruises, the inside cabins are tiny, tiny. So after the first formal night, I said, let's go back to the room. I need to use the restroom, and then we'll go to the theater. I come out of the bathroom, and as I'm opening up the door, there's my husband on his knee proposing to me. And he's telling me how much he loves me, and I said, wait, stop. I said, can I come out of the bathroom first before we go on? And so later that evening, I said to him, Chuck, honey, out of all the places on this ship, you chose for me to be in the bathroom? And he said, there was no better place. Okay. Oh, by the way, I said yes. He also was a bit older than myself, and I used to remind him of that, of course. So once in a while, he would say something about, well, when I graduated from high school, I said, honey, I wouldn't know. I was just going into kindergarten. And he just loved that. Let's see. So we pulled our family together. It consisted of 5 children. When we met, their ages were from ages 13 up to 22. And we also had a 2-year-old grandson who basically lived with us. I think we handled it pretty well. We did not kill any of them, so it couldn't have been too bad. Yes, he is. My grandson's with me today. On several occasions, I liked to surprise him, and he would get so emotional when I did some of these things, but it always had to do with airplanes. So there was 3 times I introduced him to an experience with planes. Once we went down to Tampa. I think the place was called Flights, and there was a plane that was not on exhibition, but it was way out in the field and needed to be revamped. And he goes, I would love to go out in that plane. And they said, we're not going out there. I said, oh, okay. I said, I'm going to go to the ladies' room. So I went over to the general manager. I told him the story, and he goes, I'll get you out there. So I went back to him. I said, we're going out. He goes, you're joking. I said, no, we're going. So he took us out in a little golf cart, and he says, okay, you two can go in. I said, I'm not going in there. I mean, it hadn't been touched, and it was all full of spider webs and spiders. And my husband crawls through all of that, gets up into the pilot seat, opens up the window. He goes, I can't believe I'm sitting in the seat similar to what my dad, because it was a B-24. So he calls his father, who is now at this age, maybe 87, and he lived into almost 100, so he was with it mentally. And he said, Dad, I'm in a B-24. I need you to know how to start this thing. He goes, okay, let me tell you what you do. And he started, like, really? Dad, I'm joking. That was so funny. Then the second time was, I think it was with the Collins, I'm not sure, Foundation, but there was a B-24 down in Maryland, and you could pay for 7 people to go on the plane. And I got him in, and they didn't know what position you were going to supposedly be in, and he was the co-pilot. So he was so thrilled. He got off, and he was shaking, and I said, did the plane ride bother you? He goes, no, I'm just so excited that I got to think about my dad, in this B-24, and I would be sitting next to him, and he just was so emotional. Well, then the last time, which was just last year, he always wanted to be a pilot. He took the test to be a pilot, but because he wore glasses, he couldn't, and he didn't realize that. He had passed the officer's test, but not the eye test. So I arranged for him to go up in a small little plane, and I was in it. I don't know if that was a good idea, and he actually flew the plane. And he got off, and he cried, and he said, I can't believe you come up with these things. It means the world to me. I said, well, you mean the world to me. And he honestly did. He was my best friend. In retirement, Chuck pursued his passion for history and aviation, dedicating over a decade to researching B-24 Liberator bombers. It all began with a simple question from his father. Hey, son, can you find out what happened to my airplane? I'll never forget that. That was the change of our lives. That question sparked a passion that defined Chuck's retirement. From that moment on, he became an incredible researcher we all came to admire. He was even the historian and was given a plaque when he retired because he wanted to give me more time. Well, that didn't happen. He ended up writing a book, which took 5 years, but it was one military thing or another. When Chuck got the research bug, he was unstoppable. He'd spend entire days at 2 different research facilities in Washington, D.C., finding some gold, sometimes not, but always driven by purpose. One story that stands out from his book, Chuck helped a man named Frank who had a very little information to go on. Yet Chuck managed to uncover everything in more or less a single day. As Chuck wrote, another man told him that if anybody could do it, Chuck could do it. Another time, a watch was found, and I may be a little off on this story. I had heard it so many times, I've kind of erased them. A watch was found during the war, and they wanted to find the owner to that watch. So through a lot of research, they found the family who that watch belonged to, and it was presented, I believe, at one of the reunions. And again, I could be wrong. At reunions, people would line up, waiting their turn to see if Chuck could help with their research, and more often than not, he could. Another memory was Chuck's face when a package arrived at our house earlier this year, and this beautiful quilt was sent to him. And on the quilt, it says Chuck Parsonson. In honor of your service to our country and your selflessness commitment to World War II research, you are a true hero. From Larry and Michelle Babcock. He put that on his lap, and he was so proud. It sat in his office and still does. Let's see. This will be on display in the other room, too. If you knew Chuck, he was a perfectionist. He would write and rewrite endlessly to make sure everything was perfect. It had to be perfect. Then in February, our lives changed. We were told that he had incurable cancer, bone cancer, that could not be fixed. So he had a choice of either doing chemo and possibly extending his life a little while longer, or not doing anything. And he wanted to do the chemo. He wanted to live long enough to do some other things in life and finish the book. It was about 95% done. We were told he had a year to 2 years to live. He was given 2 chemo treatments, and after the third, he says, "I'm not doing this anymore." And he says, I'm not. I said, okay. So we came home from the hospital that day after his treatment, and they brought the beds from hospice so that he could be more comfortable as they made him comfortable. And he passed away in less than 24 hours. So it was the most peaceful and the most remarkable thing that happened. We donate our bodies to science, the University of Delaware. So there's no service, and I don't know if you saw the picture of the flag draped over him. So he was in my dining room, and they put him on the gurney, and I had stepped out, and then the kids called me to come in, and when I came in, I saw the flag draped over him on the gurney, which happened to be on the same wall that has all of our life pictures. And the 2 gentlemen salute him and start playing taps. I'm crying, and I'm saying, he would have loved this. He would have loved this. Not quite what his father got. His father got full honors at Arlington, but he would have loved it. So, let's see where I am. Chuck was able to obtain information on, I want to thank everybody for the kind words that were shared on Facebook. Here are some of them. Dear Lori, Chuck was knowledgeable on researching military service via the National Archives and various military databases. He was able to obtain information on the ship that my dad was on, the type of vessel, and even a black and white clear photograph of the ship my dad was on. More than I ever thought I would see. Dear Lori, I know we've never met, but I wanted to reach out and offer my heartfelt condolences and prayers for your loss. If it's okay, I'd like to tell you how I got to know your husband, your incredible husband. My grandfather passed away before I was born. He was a World War II veteran who struggled with PTSD and ultimately took his own life. About 9 years ago, I began trying to learn more about the military service. All I had was a photo labeled Italy crew. And when I searched his name online, I came across the 461st Bomb Group website. I reached out to the 461st historian's email, and that's how I was introduced to Chuck. Within days, Chuck sent me spreadsheets detailing my grandfather's crew, the aircraft he flew in, his position, and the other invaluable information. He guided me to specific documents, and with his help, I was able to build a missions timeline. My grandfather was a tail gunner. Once Chuck learned how my grandfather died, he sent me, my phone keeps jumping here. Hold, please. I want to make sure I get these things right. He sent me oral histories and personal stories from other tail gunners. I think in his own way, Chuck wanted me to understand what my grandfather had experienced. Later, I connected with Tom, the son of my grandfather's the pilot, and shared his contact information with Chuck. They ended up having a long phone conversation, and Tom even sent Chuck a copy of his father's pilot notebook. That notebook gave me intimate, behind-the-scenes detail of my grandfather's missions, something I thought I'd never find. From there, my passion grew, and without Chuck and all the Jedi masters, I would have never had all this information. Lori, my grandfather, David Levin, and his father was his father's navigator, and I recently connected with Chuck through Facebook. Connecting with Chuck and talking to him had brought me so much joy, and I'm praying for him that it all works out. So there was just so much that people sent, and it was really nice to hear the stories, which most of them I had heard, but it was nice to hear at the time. He was a real friend to many of us from the reunions. It won't be the same without him. Over the years, he helped. Gee, why is that doing that? Over the years, he has helped countless people, and fortunately, I was one of them. God bless you for sharing him with us. The next two are really important to me. 24 years ago, a true man of honor, integrity, and love came into my life. I called him Pops for many years. He installed in me what it was meant to be a man, what it meant to treat others with respect, what being an American was. In 24 years, I have gone through some situations in life, as we all do. Every time he was there, he asked me, "What can I do for you?" At the same time giving me life advice with no judgment ever. 24 years ago, this angel came into my mother's life and swept her up. He treated her like she should be treated. He didn't just help his family. Through the years, he spent endless amount of hours trying to help others connect with their own families in the military. This is who he was, not just a historian, nor just an American, but a human with a caring heart to serve others. A week ago, after his passing on to glory, I sit here with so many memories that I will keep with me forever. Charles Parsonson, I call you Pops for many years. It's fitting not only to cherish that, but to be honored to call you Dad. Dad, I look forward to seeing you in the glory years, hearing all about the information about those World War II planes you couldn't find that burned in the files in Missouri, hearing all about it. Thank you, Dad, for everything. My son, Lucas. And the last is a poem that my grandson wrote. Dear Grandpa, when I heard you were sick, I thought it was a dream. It feels like a beam fell on me. It's going to be hard to sleep, knowing you're not here with me. I'm going to miss you every day, everything inside of me. I know you're going to be up in heaven, looking down, smiling down, watching over me. I wish you were next to me, laughing it up with me. I promise I'll make you proud. I won't ever let you down, because whenever I was down, you wouldn't let me drown. I'll always remember the day I graduated when I look at the picture of me in my cap and gown. Your voice will always be with me. It's my favorite kind of sound. You will always be my role model. The one I will always follow. We will all have a place in our hearts that you left hollow. I love you so much, your grandson, Josh. So thank you, everybody. I cannot thank Jonathan Tudor, enough for helping to finish my husband's book. It's going to be on sale in the room. He finally completed it. At one point, he said he wasn't going to finish it. I said, listen here, buddy. I spent a lot of time alone while you were working on your book, never complained, and I didn't. But I said, if you don't finish this book, I said, I'll kill you before the cancer does. And he said, I think I'll finish the book. Smart. So the book is called Liberator, The Men, Machines, the Mission. It's a heartfelt tribute to the air crew, grounds crew, and support personnel who made it a vital part of the U.S. Army Air Forces in the European theater. Drawing on years of research and firsthand accounts, this book sheds light on the people, the planes that helped bring victory to World War II. In conclusion, Chuck Charles Parsonson, age 77, of Bridgeville, Delaware, passed away peacefully in his home on June 19th, 2025, surrounded by the love of his family and his cat, Blue. He will be remembered for his warm heart, keen intellect, and unwavering loyalty. He had a storyteller's soul and a patriot's pride. His legacy lives in all of us. Chuck is survived by me, his wife Lori, his children Julie and her husband Bobby, William and his wife Melissa, Rachel, her husband Josh, his stepson Lucas, and his cherished grandchildren, Josh, Marley, Brooklyn, and Morgan. His presence in our life was a steady source of love, wisdom, and laughter. Chuck was not only a great husband, he was my best friend, my soulmate, and the love of my life. And not too many people are fortunate to find it all in one person. The bond we share was rare and beautiful. He stood through all my highs and lows, and some of you have seen some of my lows, which I just found out, which was a little embarrassing. They saw x-rays of my back when I had back surgery. That's how they first were introduced to me. He stood by me through, like I said, the highs and lows, always knowing how to lift my spirits and make me smile. I will forever be grateful for the joy and love he brought into my life. It was just cut too short. One of his favorite friends, Petrard, wrote this beautiful saying I think could be used for a lot of people. Your heaven will be a large airport full of well-parked B-24s, your preferred variant, ready to fly. And next to the control tower, a hangar with all the answers you wanted to know, the missing pictures that prove a fact, the report documents that were impossible to find, all the logbooks at your disposal. That's the heaven that Chuck deserved, surrounded by history, truth, planes that he loved. Thank you.